Hey everyone, welcome to Roast the Post, the story behind the bullet points. I'm Paul Austin Manier, and I come at job postings from the world of organizational design and servant leadership, which means I can't help reading these things like little x-rays of how a company actually operates, the structure, the expectations, and the hidden assumptions they might not even realize they're signaling. Each week, Jen and I take a real job posting and pull it apart piece by piece. Sometimes the role is clear, coherent, and well thought out. Other times, the posting's basically a structural cry for help dressed up in corporate optimism. If you're a job seeker, we'll help you understand what's really being asked of you, not just what's written. If you're a job seeker, HR leaders, hiring managers, or anyone crafting these roles, this is your chance to see how your posting reads outside your own walled garden and what candidates infer from the gaps, the contradictions, or the hidden expectations. One of us brings a job post the other has not seen. We break it down section by section, and at the end, we each give it a grade. No alignment needed, just honest perspectives from two different angles. So I had a reminder set on my phone for this afternoon to change my windshield wipers, which I haven't done yet. And I had a reminder set on my phone to change my windshield wipers because we went through like a wicked snowstorm about a week ago, and we were driving home and it was not fun. And I was like, oh, my windshield wipers really suck. Winter problems.
Yeah. And did you do it?
I mean, tentatively, I'm going to do it.
Going to.
If that counts.
It's in the calendar. I mean, in Victoria, we have to because of the rain. Like, it's just raining all the time. The weekend was just very wet and it hasn't stopped yet. It's just pouring. Yeah.
Well, speaking of pouring, I found a fun post for us for this week. And this is something that I don't think either one of us would have had on our 2026 January bingo card, but I found a job posting for a part-time woodwind instructor.
A woodwind instructor. Okay.
And for the folks at home, like Jen and I kind of like to have fun and use our rotating host hot seat to kind of like screw with each other a little bit. So this is a part of my ongoing journey to make Jen go, what the fuck is he doing now?
No, this is what you're going to get is revenge. That's what you're going to get.
No, right. Mutually assured destruction. Forgot about that part. Yeah. That's okay. So we have a post to roast. It is for a part-time woodwind instructor here in Toronto. Shall we get started?
Let's do it.
Okay, so this is a part-time freelance role. And I'm going to start by reading off exactly what was written in the job description. And for the folks at home, we have started putting the job ads on the Substack post that's attached to this video and podcast or whatever. So if you want to kind of like follow along and you're really interested, hit the link in the show notes. You can go load it up there and kind of follow along with us as we go. Summary for part-time drums instructor.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, they wrote drums instructor, but it was part-time woodwind instructor is what we're actually hiring for. Oops.
Okay.
Our school is growing and we're looking for a dynamic and seasoned woodwind instructor to join our talented roster of music teachers to educate and inspire students of all ages, levels, and abilities at our downtown music school and recording studio located at Street in Toronto. Address removed so that we don't name and shame because that's not what we're all about. We expect you to be knowledgeable about a wide variety of musical genres in addition to your specialty in drums and percussion. Whoops, I think that's another oopsie. And take great pride and care in the execution and delivery of your lessons. You're the perfect blend of professional performer and educator who views music education and your own professional development as a lifelong pursuit. If you work well with a team and are looking for a school that cares deeply about creating a dynamic and uplifting learning environment for both their students and instructors, we want to hear from you. Responsibilities and duties. Create an inspiring and positive learning environment for all lessons, classes, bands, and workshops that you instruct. Follow instructions and memos from school director and administration staff. Attend all staff meetings and occasional one-on-one discussions with the school director, openly sharing your feedback and suggestions regarding school procedures, programming, school supplies, and new equipment purchases when asked. Take daily attendance, making lesson notes, and assigning student homework using My Music staff scheduling software. Create structured, customized lesson plans and goals for each student to keep them consistently engaged and motivated. Be flexible and quick to modify your lesson plans and approach as needed based on feedback you receive from your students, parents, school admin staff, or school director. I'm going to pause here because that's a chunk of stuff we'll carry on afterwards. Anything stick out? Did anything kind of make you go, what's going on there, other than perhaps the, what are we hiring?
Yeah, other than the confusion behind what it is that they're actually instructing. I think that's an important call out in and of itself, though, right? Like review, edit, read your job postings. This is, it's a copy and paste job, right? They've copied and pasted. And I don't know if we're going to get to clarity in the posting itself, whether or not it is actually drums, or are you certain based on how it reads that it is woodwind? Because right now it's interchangeable. So,
90% of the time, 60% of the time, it turns out to be woodwind. So we'll just see, won't we?
So yeah, I would say just review, edit. Obviously for efficiency, you're going to have templates and everything, but like, you gotta slow down and just read it. This is just already really confusing and hilarious. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. The thing that stood out to me, a couple of things. One is, they're asking for someone who's seasoned. So with that being said, to me, obviously that means that you're more experienced, and curious as to what the pay would be to reflect the fact that they're looking for someone who is seasoned, and whether or not they're even posting the salary. We discussed this in a previous episode, but it is now a legal requirement in Ontario. And also too, for listeners, I feel like we are really talking about a lot of Ontario-based jobs for some reason, that just comes up. They're just more, I guess they're just easier to find, but I'm going to be working on, and I think Paul will be too, bringing a little bit of diversity into geography. But yeah, so seasoned to me means that you have more experience, so the pay should reflect that. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. They talk about, providing feedback when asked. I thought that was really interesting. Like you can give feedback, but only when we solicit it. Otherwise, shut your mouth, shut your woodwind instrument, right? Like,
shut your flute hole.
Shut your flute hole. Shut your flooping flute hole. So I just wonder what kind of culture that is, right? Like, and maybe they don't mean it explicitly like that, but it reads that way. It's like, when we ask you, provide feedback, otherwise don't. So I thought that was a little bit interesting. Other things like attending staff meetings. This is a part-time freelance role, so I wonder what the compensation is like for that. I'm assuming that you will be paid for attending the staff meetings, but curious as to what that looks like. So those are my initial thoughts.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because this is it strikes me as a very contractor type role.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that the person who joins in this capacity is going to be directly employed by them. And that's, in this space, that's not crazy, because the amount of work that you're doing, the lessons that you're giving and whatnot, is going to be so variable. Like one week or one semester you might have 3 classes where you're fully booked and things are good. Another semester you might have nothing. Like you might have no students sign up or enroll for that particular course or class that you're teaching. So saying to the business, like you must employ these people directly on kind of a part-time contractual basis and take on the burdens that go along with that, that would be a lot. Like I could see where that would put some businesses, private education businesses, in music in serious financial difficulties. So it's like, it's not crazy to me that the contractor thing is kind of what this is. I also wondered when I was reading this if if they use like a kind of a job placement agency or service or whatever, if they just outsource the whole thing and say, you write the job descriptions, this is kind of what we need, go to town, paste it. And I wonder if what we kind of found here was a copy and paste job, as you said, but from an agency, from a placement agency of some sort. Because this really seems to me to be the whole, like, we're moving too fast because we have 10 billion different things to do, and we have like 5,000 clients and whatever, and copy paste. Oh geez, my thumb was on like Alt instead of Control.
This is interesting, because I wonder if maybe you're making me think that what if they did use an agency, the school used an agency in the past, and they have some saved job postings, and to save some money, they're like, we're just going to copy and paste the one that they gave us. Because I feel like an agency would not make a mistake like this. I feel like it's literally what they do. And so it would be rare to see a mistake like this being made. So I feel like this mistake is the schools. But
yeah, maybe.
So many assumptions. This is what this show is all about, a whackload of assumptions.
It's true. Let's carry on. So the next bullet point, and again, this is in responsibilities and duties. So the next bullet point is provide periodic progress updates for students or administration upon request. Write clear and concise lesson notes, creating recordings, professional music charts, and other relevant supportive materials for students, admin staff, and substitute teachers when necessary. Communicate with administration and students in a timely manner when attendance, scheduling, or other issues arise so that problems can be resolved quickly. Prepare students for end-of-term school concerts, performances, and competitions. And finally, must be able to work weekday afternoons, evenings, and weekends on a set schedule to be determined upon employment. And we'll take a break there because we're going to go into a fairly lengthy section next. So like short intermission, but did anything stick out there for you?
Not really. Like I think about my son who's 8 and takes drum lessons and what that looks like and who's communicating to us. Is it the actual school itself or is it the teacher? And 90% of the time it's the teacher. He's the one letting us know if he's sick, if the class is canceled. At this point, we text each other now. So I feel like that seems reasonable, and it seems in line. I think it was the last part, the schedule to be determined. I'm wondering if that's because, like you had mentioned, if this is a contract freelance type role, this person is likely employed somewhere else or has a couple of these types of gigs. And so there's a willingness, it sounds like, to work around that person's availability. So far, so good.
Yeah, I would guess that's kind of the case, because you've got a couple of different factors that are going to be playing into the schedule here. Like you've got kind of number one, the availability of the instructor. That's probably the most important one. Number two, you've got the demand side from students, right? Like, are you going to be able to fill a class of students on a Wednesday at 3 p.m.? If it's an adult class, sure, maybe. But if it's a class for like teenagers, maybe not, because they'll be in like school, right? So you got to kind of work around all of that stuff. And then there's probably another part to it where it's like, we'll figure out the schedule together, and then we'll go fill the class. Like you say that you're available Tuesday 3 till 5, Thursday 7 till 9, Saturday like 11 a.m. till 1 p.m. Okay, cool. Then that's when we're going to offer our classes and see if we can fill them up.
Right. I think that's a fair point too. Yeah, absolutely.
So next section is qualifications and skills. Bullet points as always. Exceptional listening and verbal communication skills. Detail-oriented and strong organizational skills required. outgoing and confident personality in teaching private lessons, bands, group classes, and workshops. Proven track record of high student retention in previous teaching positions. The ability to double on multiple woodwinds with one instrument being your primary focus. More evidence for this is actually woodwinds.
Okay, yeah.
Able to teach a variety of styles from classical to jazz or rock and anything in between. Ability to read music and write charts using software for students at an advanced level. A team player with excellent written and verbal communication skills. Excellent creative problem-solving abilities and a can-do attitude. Post-secondary diploma or degree, at least 5 years of experience. Experienced, outgoing, and confident in teaching adults, children, and teens in private lessons, group classes, bands, and workshop settings. Ability to prepare for university, college, or RCM editions up to ARCT level. Adept and experienced at teaching lessons online at the school and have a quality at-home setup to teach through Zoom when required. As an independent contractor, you will be responsible for submitting your invoices to the school office that are processed on a monthly basis. Secondary teachable instrument of piano is required for this role. Bit longer section.
Wait a minute. We're throwing in another instrument. So we've got the woodwinds, we've got drums, we've got piano. Okay.
I hear you, but being able to teach on piano it's not that crazy for what this is, especially when you consider that they're throwing in we want you to be able to do university prep and like the RCT, whatever the heck it is, like that kind of says to me that this is more for a trained musician. And a lot of trained musicians, especially when they're in orchestras or they're playing woodwinds or whatever else, they can play piano. Because that's one of the instruments that you kind of learn when you're learning to like read music and write music and do like staging and compositions and stuff. So it seems like a lot to us, but it's not that crazy. And that's actually, I think, a pretty good separating question, because that question is going to kind of hive off people who are self-taught enthusiasts, which It doesn't sound like that's what they want. It sounds like what they want is classically trained folks who can do like the high level prep, which to me kind of also says, okay, they said private lessons, we're doing private lessons. And that means that the price point for these lessons is going up, because it's no longer just you're taking a class for $40 a week. It's we're helping you prepare for, your audition to Juilliard or something.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the piano thing too is interesting, because I think, like you said, when you're talking about preparation for universities, things like that, a lot of times piano is used as the accompanying instrument for those types of situations. So it does make sense. And most musicians I know can play a ton of different instruments. That's just kind of what they do. So, yeah, I would say so. Based on that section, they do talk a lot. Like it's mentioned in a lot of different ways: seasoned, advanced, 5 years experience. Like they're looking for someone more experienced. They mentioned that the way that it's written, those qualifications that you listed, I feel like it's quite repetitive. They're saying a few things a couple of times, like confident, outgoing, all that is repeated. So far though, I guess, and maybe it's going to touch on it a little bit more, I don't know anything really about the school, and it doesn't seem that exciting. It just seems like, a gig, a part-time gig. Could be anywhere. There's no differentiator so far, but maybe there's going to be more information.
Yeah, this very much strikes me as something that you're going to do, kind of part of your week. Yeah. So if you're, what I kind of think this is perhaps a little bit geared towards is music teachers who are not full-time employed by a board. They might be employed on like a part-time basis, or they might be on the supply list or something else, but they have like lots of experience. Or sometimes there are teachers who are kind of, they're kind of retired, but not really.
Yeah.
And they just supply like this, maybe it sounds like this is kind of geared for something like that. But you're right. There's not a ton about the organization and what they believe
Yeah.
in that's gone into this post so far.
Yeah, and I guess because it is a contract position, so really it's not that important, the like the cultural aspect or what, like a job posting should make you want to go, oh, cool, I'd love to work there. And so far, this is not that. But again, it's a contract position, it's part-time. Maybe it doesn't need to be that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that kind of does bring up that thought, right? Of like, when is a job just a job? Like you're
Yeah.
always going to want to be engaged by your work and find it valuable. But when is that line where it's like I want to fully buy into the mission of this organization and enter into that social contract where it's like they take care of me and I take care of them. I suspect that line doesn't really exist for anybody when it's a 6 hour a week contract gig.
Right. Exactly. Although that being said, it would be interesting to know their kind of like employment model at this place. Like, is
Mhm.
everyone a contractor? Do they have full-time people beyond, I'm assuming, the administrative type roles? That would be really interesting because then it would also indicate whether or not there is potential, future potential for a full-time employment opportunity, but maybe there's not.
Yeah. The job post did mention that you would be asked to give feedback to the school director at
Right.
various points. So that suggests that there is like some kind of core staffing capability.
Yeah.
But whether or not there are established pathways for contractors to kind of get into the organization and build those bridges, who knows?
Who knows? It's so, like you mentioned earlier, it's difficult because you got to fill the classes, right?
Mhm.
Like you just, if you don't fill the classes, then there's nothing, how can they still pay you, right? So yeah, it's a tough model, built on, I think, just part-time freelance contract work for
And
a
I wonder
reason.
too, yeah, and I wonder too, like now that you bring that up, I wonder too what the model is around the one-to-ones and the private tutoring and the admissions prep, that type of stuff, because like I can't imagine that is something that is like really concretely scheduled and bucketed. Like I don't see there being enough demand to be like, okay, we're going to do university prep for Johnny at 3 p.m. every Wednesday and for Susie, every Thursday at 11 a.m. Ahead of time. So I wonder if that's where the whole Zoom setup thing kind of comes in, where it's like, all right, we're going to basically build as the school, we're going to build a sales model to go out and market and sell these services. And then it'll be more like a referral type system where, the parents pay us or the students pay us, the school. And then we kind of filter that off to you on the back end. And, we take our commission, our piece of it, and you figure out everything else, like set up your own timetable, set up your own like Zoom schedule. I wonder if there's some of that that goes along with this alongside kind of that formal class thing.
And I wonder what's to stop someone from saying to the family, like,
Mm.
hey, let's cut out the middle person and we'll do this on the DL and it'll be a lot cheaper and you just pay me directly. I mean, I think it would be sketch to have someone like the teacher say that to you. You might be a little bit taken aback, but I just wonder what the benefit is to the student, to the family, to go through this specific school, right? Like instead of just doing it, like just cut them out completely because I'm sure it's not cheap. So yeah.
I wonder how sketch that actually would be. So think
Yeah.
about think about your own experience, right? Like your son's taking drum lessons, percussion lessons, and I'm sure that there's like a cost to that that's not nothing. If the teacher said to you, like, I'm setting up, like if they came to you directly and said, I'm going to set up like a little studio space in my garage. It's over on Alphabet Street, like over here, where it is. It's kind of the neighborhood, like
On
it
Woodwind
seems
Drive.
safe. Yeah, on Woodwind Drive. It's safe and whatnot, and this is the price. And oh, by the way, the price is like half off. Would you be like, okay?
Yeah, for me, I totally would because I guess we've established the relationship with the teacher. I would be there, right? It's like right now, we just sit outside of the classroom and wait for it to be over. Depends on the location, but if it were more convenient in the long run, I wouldn't be sketched out at all. I would actually be grateful. This actually reminds me of when our son was in daycare when he was really little, and we didn't have a babysitter at all. And so one of the daycare workers who we really liked, we were kind of like planting the seed. We're like, if you know of anyone, wink, wink, who might be interested in doing some babysitting, because we didn't know if we were allowed to solicit, and apparently you're not. And one day, when we brought our son home in his backpack, there was a little note that she'd slipped in with her phone number. I know. And so she was our babysitter for a while, and it was great. But again, like, I think you kind of have to like test the waters and everything to see. And all of that being said, we could be discussing a huge faux pas in like the music world where it's like you absolutely can't do that. Like maybe you need the name of the institution as part of your submission papers that you like prepped at. Who knows? You could be saying something that's like so not what anyone would do, but I would totally do it. If it made my life easier, then and it was still safe for my son, then absolutely I would do it. Yeah.
So people who are listening at home, if you are in the music space and we are just talking out of our butts and we're like doing the absolute worst thing in the world and we're like the death of the ethics in your profession, write in and tell us.
Yes, please.
Because we're just regular people and we're like, yeah, I'd save $100 a week by doing like private lessons.
And we'll do maybe we need to build in a corrections corner for all the times that we just say the wrong thing and we need to learn how to shut our flute holes.
We'll get a dunce cap, but we'll come up with a fun name for it.
Yeah.
So moving on, we've got the next section is preferred skills. A little bit short, which kind of surprised me. Ability to lead an ensemble in a variety of instrument configurations and music styles. Strong presentation skills and prior experience in conducting workshops and master classes. Experience with sound editing and recording is a plus. Experience with metal music is a plus.
Like metal music, like is that an instrument type like woodwinds, or is it like heavy metal?
I would assume it's software because it was capitalized.
Oh, okay. It must be some kind of music software then.
Something that people who are in this industry would probably know.
And are like shaking their heads right now. That's interesting. What, 3 bullet points? I wonder why it's separate. It's a separate heading than the one that we were just talking about. Like, why isn't that just incorporated all in one? That's weird.
Yeah, because you preferred skills like this section, you would think that would be the place to be like, you need 5 years of experience leading the orchestras or groups or bands or whatever. You need like X, Y, and Z. If you have this kind of accreditation for music teaching, like you'd think that it would be in here, but yeah, it's kind of a reiteration of stuff that was up earlier in the job post.
Yeah, I agree. It's the layout, the format of it is a little bit weird to me, but otherwise nothing else stood out.
And kind of a tip for the folks at home, like when you're writing job posts, job ads, the more that you can format and structure the written advertisement to make it scannable and easy for people who are reading it to kind of like get a picture of what this is all about and go to different sections to look at different things, the better off the job ad's going to be. When you kind of bury things all together, like it's a story or a piece of prose or something, you're making it more difficult for people to actually figure out the job ad and the structure of the job and what they need and what you give them. So like bucket stuff and use headings like kind of appropriately. They're your friend, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think it might be interesting to throw together a couple of like templates and throw them up in show notes at some point about what that could look like, because I think that there's an assumption that there's a specific type of template, but I think that that's a little bit archaic now, and there are other ways of putting together a job posting that, like you said, makes it a lot easier to scan, and like the too long didn't read part, and then you go into it a little bit more. Like what is it that you want the person to know right off the bat about this job, about us? So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So carrying on, we'll go through the remainder of the job ad. There's not that much left over. Benefits, bullet points, casual dress, environmentally focused company, collaborative and friendly work environment, and they do list pay. We'll get into that towards the end. Job type, part-time independent contractor position, part-time hours per week, targeting 5 to 6 hours per week. Schedule, Monday to Friday, is available. Weekend availability is a plus. We're specifically looking for Mondays at the moment, with the opportunity to expand to other days. And then there are some follow-up questions and instructions to submit. So application questions, this is kind of interesting. These are supplemental questions that they want you to answer when you submit you submit the job ad to the email address that they leave. Question 1, which instruments do you teach currently? And question 2, what genres do you feel comfortable teaching? And then it goes into education again, experience again, which we already talked about. They want a bachelor's degree, it's required. And they want 5 years teaching experience, which is preferred. And the location is listed as in person. So that's kind of summing up the job.
So they list that stuff again, like one more time after that?
Yeah, but I really wonder if, because it's just copy and pasted, it's written exactly the same as it was before. I kind of wonder if the job ad platform has like a whole bunch of required fields that you have to fill out. And then when they were going through, they were like, oh, we already had this up here, but we can't actually hit the post button until we fill in the field. So let's copy and paste.
That's totally what it sounds like. Yeah, absolutely. Well, one thing to point out is that like those are benefits. Like that's a really loose and generous term for benefits. And if you're listening, you wouldn't have caught this. If you're watching, you would have seen that I laughed because Paul, when you said casual dress, you did a little shimmy, and that was hilarious to me. Casual dress. And it helps that you're wearing like a Hawaiian shirt too. So really leaning into that.
And it's January 12th. I mean, right now, I'm just trying to manifest some damn warmer weather.
Oh, yeah. I think in BC, we're going through what they call an atmospheric river, and it sounds really cool, but it's like just wet. It's just wet. Anyway, so casual dress, those benefits are hilarious to me because they're not benefits, but I get it. This makes more sense to me the way you described. If it is on a platform where you're, like you copy and paste the whole job description and then you have to fill out other parts, you're like, oh dang, I already put this in the body. I'm just going to repeat it. And there would be a section for benefits, and it's a contract position. So you're like, let's think, what are some of the benefits? Casual dress. So it's a little bit funny. It's also interesting to me that it said, it talked about like flexibility in collaborating on building what those hours would look like. But then it says that they have Mondays available, but then they also say they want 5 to 6 hours. So are they asking someone to work 5 to 6 hours 1 day a week? That changes things a little bit for me versus spreading out like a couple of hours throughout the week. That might make it difficult for someone who wants to supplement their income by taking on something like this. So I think that that's just a little bit interesting. It seems contradictory to what it is that they were posting.
It's unclear for sure. For sure.
Yeah, but they do mention like there's opportunity to potentially expand on those hours. So it does, I feel like there are a lot of question marks, but I also feel like the people who are experienced in this kind of work and in this kind of field are a lot more like down with this. Like they're picking up what the people are putting down. It isn't that like we're thinking too hard. We're thinking too hard about it for sure. Yeah. What about you? What were your thoughts on that?
We definitely, you and I, we definitely overthink sometimes about like specific wording when we're in the midst of job posts. But I mean, that's half the point, right? Like a part of what we want to do is to give people who are writing job ads and creating these roles a little bit of an outside perspective and some context. But I found it a little bit inconsistent towards the end too. And as we're kind of going through it, I'm also thinking about the kind of the the nature of the work. Like it says in person, and that's probably just a drop down that you have to select. And
Yeah.
it's like, what's the closest one? Remote, in person, blah blah blah. Because it seems clear that they do want in-person classes to be taught. Probably group classes are a big part of their revenue model, so that's a must do. But then we're also talking about this private tutoring, and there was that
Yeah.
kind of throw in there saying, you must have your own setup at home
Yeah.
and be able to do Zoom, right? So there's obviously something in here where it's like, yeah, you're going to be teaching classes remote. And my mom, who's very musical, like she tried to get me to learn instruments when I was a kid and whatnot, didn't stick.
Disappointment.
But she takes harp lessons, and it's
Okay.
remote. So she's on Zoom like I think once a week or whatever with her full size floor harp, doing a lesson over Zoom. And I grew up in the country where high speed internet not really a thing, but there's still some kind of format where they've got that figured out, and it's still like it seems to work. So maybe this is becoming more and more of a thing in like music education. I don't know, but it seems weird to me that it's like, yeah, in class, and oh, you need to be able to do like Zoom remote from home.
Yeah, interesting. You also made me think about like the format itself. Like who are they trying to find and where are they finding them? Like where is the candidate meeting the um I guess employer in this case in air quotes. Because I could see this being a really good little one-page poster that you put at like coffee shops that have open
Mm.
mic nights and things like that, like community boards. I think you would find someone because there are people who are out there, just maybe this isn't their full-time job, but yeah, side gig. They have all the qualifications, they're seasoned, they're advanced, all of that stuff. Would be a good way. I think it would almost like come across better in that format than it does in whatever platform it is that you found this on. So I think that that's interesting as well.
Yeah, let's talk about the salary, because they do
Yeah.
post a salary. I mean, it's wages, so they post an hourly range on this. I would not have gotten this right whatsoever, so I'm very curious to see how close to the mark you land. What do you think this job is worth an hour? What do you think they advertised it as?
You know that this is the part that makes me the most nervous because I've never once gotten it right. Not even once. Okay. So as we were talking about this and we were talking about salary, I was thinking back to my days of when I was like freelancing type stuff, not in music, but yoga. I was a yoga teacher, and so paid a rate per class. But this was back in the day, and at the time it was a pretty generous hourly rate, or not hourly rate, but per class, and the class was like an hour and a half. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and guess like $50 to $60 an hour. That's my guess based on that, based on something that has nothing to do with music whatsoever, just purely based on the only thing I can like touch on that's remotely potentially similar to it.
You were in the
I don't,
ballpark. You were
yeah.
you were in the ballpark. So they listed 35 to 50 an hour,
Okay.
with the kind of the qualifier that it depends on like your individual qualifications and the type of lesson taught. So like that kind of goes back to that whole, is it a group class? Is it a workshop? Is it, like admissions prep for university? Is it private tutoring? I'd imagine they have some sort of like sliding scale of fees or something, or like some kind of compensation rate card maybe that they use for contractors.
Yeah.
But it was quite clear that it's like really depends on what you bring to the table and what you're doing, which I kind of liked.
What did you think?
Oh, man, before I read through this, I was thinking like $100 an hour sort of thing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I, I know nothing about this industry
Yeah.
other than like I've had friends who have taught music lessons like casually, and I kind of sort of know a little bit about like the private academy business model, but other than that, I know nothing about it. So I
Yeah.
was like, how much would I value an hour of my time for teaching a creative thing? And I was like, oh, $100 an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
35. I mean, yes, in the ballpark, but I doubled that at like 60, 50 to $60. I think like this is when I was teaching yoga and like I said, $50 a class, this was back in the day. So it's surprising to me to see a figure like $35 an hour when this was what, aging myself here, like maybe 20 years ago, uh, at $50 a class. So it's interesting to me to hear $35 an hour. I just feel like that's not very much, but they've got a range in there and it's a decent range. So, and they're posting a range. They're posting dollar signs to like a value, which is great. Like that's a huge plus. So
yeah,
I appreciate
yeah.
it.
And another thing to kind of call it for the folks at home, it's easy to forget, but this is the compensation. So the revenue side of that is more. Like I would guess if I had to that the per seat fee or unit of hour kind of revenue that comes into the school is probably double what they've advertised. So they're probably bringing in between 70 and 150, depending on the type of the type of instruction that it is. And like there's overhead in the middle, right? Like you're running a music school, you've got all your overhead, you've got all your other stuff that you have to pay for. So of course you're not going to be able to give every single dollar that you charge for, a spot in a class out to the instructor. It's not going to work that way. That's why the economics of the gray market work out so well, where it's like the instructor might say, would you like private lessons in my garage for half the price? Kind of why that can work at all, right?
Yeah, yeah. Safety not guaranteed. I'm trying to find my receipt for Seb's drums because I want to know. I actually don't even know how much it is, and I cannot for the life of me find it. So I don't know how much we pay for my son's drum lessons because they just take it out automatically. So I have no. I'm gonna message you afterwards and let you know because I'm curious to like what it is that they're charging.
Yeah, what's the spread?
Yeah.
Overall, what did you think of this job post? What's your score out of 10? How would you rate it?
It's interesting. This is a very different one because it's for a whole different thing. Like it's a contractor, it's part-time. I think it had the information it needed to have. It was a bit jumbled up. It had those hilarious mistakes of like, is this drums? Is this woodwind? We think it's woodwind. It's leaning towards that. And it tells us nothing about the organization, right? Like, and maybe it doesn't matter. Like you said, a gig is a gig. I don't know. Um, but I feel like it was lacking. It had a few mistakes. It was jumbled up everywhere. I don't know. To me, this is like a 5. It's again, what does that look like on a really cool one-page poster on a community board? I think it would actually do a lot more heavy lifting in that environment. So I think it's like a 5. It's not. I'm not applying. I packed my woodwind up. I'm retired, so I won't be applying anytime soon. What about you?
And what before we talk about what I thought,
Yeah.
what would you do differently? What would you do to make this better? Because you're right, there are definitely some deficiencies in how this post was structured, and we don't have the full context. But what would you do differently?
I would get the role correct. I would like to make sure that it was the right instrument. Like, imagine if it is for drums and then it wastes like it's wasting someone's time. But multifaceted musicians, maybe it doesn't matter. So I would make sure that I got that right. I would try to sell the organization a little bit, like why this place, why this institution versus a different one. I would try to include a few more benefits. Like, is there potentially opportunities for them to access space a couple times a week or whatever, monthly, like give a few hours every month that you can use the space for what you need to do, to jam, to do whatever. Like, what are there have got to be more benefits than casual dress. Like it's lacking. So I think sell me a little bit more on the institution, beef up the benefits. I know it's a contractor role, but you can still do better. And have it just be a little bit more logical, sensical. Even maybe including some testimonials of the place might be nice to see. But just dress it up a little bit more, make it a little bit like beef it up.
Yeah. I was a little bit more generous. I thought that this was about a 6.5 out of 10. I thought it was structured fairly well. Like they got all the basic points that you would need for a contract role kind of in there. Like it was pretty succinct. They posted a range, which
Yes, yes. Yep.
they actually said how much the job was worth, which is the law now. However, lots of companies are not doing it yet.
Yep.
Granted, it's been the law for 2 weeks now at this point, but still. So I thought the structure was pretty good. Similar to you, I thought that the opportunities, the things they really kind of missed on, were talking more about the organization. And for me, it was actually kind of more specific to not really the organization and what it stands for, but what the student body was really all about. Like, are we talking about a school that's focusing on adult music education because we want adults to be like fulfilled and to be happy and to, you know, keep their cognitive abilities sharp as they age? Like, is it that, or is it students, like kids who want to be professional musicians and we're passionate about bringing like the best of the best of the best? We absolutely want every graduate to go on university and to be successful performers. Is it that? Because you're going to attract different types of talent in an instructor based on those things, right? Like the organization's mission is probably not going to be a huge factor in this, but the mission of music that they believe in and why they believe in it, that's potentially pretty powerful. And they didn't really tell that story at all. So that's kind of the basis of my criticism on the organizational stuff and the missed opportunity for employer branding. I also would have liked it more had they talked about the revenue model more, because it's there's stuff in there that is like, it kind of gives a hint about what the school does to make money, like how its classes kind of function or whatever. But I would have liked more, because you and I talked about that that kind of gray hole, if you will, where it's like, there's this opportunity that maybe the schools kind of private tutoring or prep clients can just kind of like quietly become the private tutoring or prep clients of the instructors, especially if they decide that they want to kind of part company. And if it's a contractor relationship, there is very little that the school can do to prevent that. If they're an actual employee, then there's stuff that you can do to restrict that type of behavior, solicitation and whatnot. But if you're a contractor, no, like there's nothing you can do about it. So if you go into it as the business, as the school, with that knowledge, you can kind of start to structure the pathways where you're adding value as the school, but you're allowing the instructors to kind of function in that way. And if it was me, just from the business side of it, I'd be looking at a model where it's like, okay, can I actually become like a lead generation service for private tutoring for the instructor, rather than like try and keep everything to myself? Can I instead be a platform and say, hey, I've got 20 students who, over the course of the next year seem like a fit for you. Do you want to interview them? And, if you decide to do something with them, or we get you like matched or set up, we'll take a one-time fee, take a finder's fee. Like I'd be looking at stuff like that. Yeah,
that's really cool. Yeah.
Because it creates incentive, right? Like it creates the alignment of incentives that serves both parties a little bit better. And it kind of eliminates those things where it's like, under the table, we're going to do this thing because we can. Like,
and I'm sure it happens, right? It absolutely must happen. So, absolutely. I think that what is the revenue model is always an interesting. That's an interesting story to share as well. I don't know why it would have to be secret. So, make it explicit, explain how it works.
Yeah. Well, shall we leave it there? I think we can consider this post roasted.
All right. Glad you could spend some time with us on Roast the Post, the story behind the bullet points. If today's episode helped you make sense of the hiring landscape, or at least feel less alone in navigating it, don't forget to subscribe. You can find us on YouTube or follow the show on whatever podcast app you trust with your sanity. We're always looking for interesting job postings to break down. So if you've got one, whether it's surprisingly good or impressively confusing, send it in. Listener submissions keep things spicy. Follow that link in the show notes for more. Thanks again for listening. Catch us next time when we take on another posting that definitely has something to say.